So in this video, guys, I'm going to be speaking about how Kanye West reinvented himself to create My Dark Twisted Fantasy, some of the principles he used in order to get this album produced, and how these principles can be applied into your life as well. This is about identity change, reinventing yourself, sort of understanding the process that you need to go through in order to radically transform your life. And that's basically what we'll be speaking about in this video. I guess that most of you watching this know the situation or know the moment when Kanye West went on stage and took the mic from Taylor Swift. But if you don't, I'll give you sort of a quick summary of what basically took place. They were at the musical award shows. I forgot, was it the Grammys or whatever it is at the time. And basically there was a category for the best music video, I believe it was. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the comments, but Beyonce was one of the artists in that category, Taylor Swift, some other artists. And essentially what ended up happening is Taylor Swift got that award. Now, Kanye West being very close with Jay-Z and sort of the Rock Nation, Rockefeller camp, and Jay-Z's wife being Beyonce, he wasn't really happy with that. I believe Beyonce's video was Single Ladies at the time, and Kanye West believed that that was the biggest video at the time, and clearly Beyonce deserved to win. So in unapologetic Kanye West fashion, he went onto that stage, he took the microphone from Taylor as she was accepting her award and basically said, "I'll let you finish in a minute, Taylor, but Beyonce had the greatest music video of all time," or something like that. Now, this moment was highly criticized, not only because Kanye West stormed on stage and interrupted a young lady's acceptance of all of her hard work that she put into creating that music, that art, and what she'd done on her grind, but it was the fact that he had the audacity almost to grab the mic and tell her that he's going to let her finish when it isn't his award show. But this moment was, Kanye West up until that point was pretty much highly praised by the general public. You know, he was coming off the back of back-to-back amazingly sonically good albums such as College Dropout, Late Registration, I believe it was Graduation, and 808s and Heartbreaks. But this moment here casted him as the villain in the eyes of the public, because who is he to get on stage and basically challenge this young girl here called Taylor Swift and tell her that she doesn't deserve to get an award? If someone had done that to him, he wouldn't have been happy, so why is he going to do it to someone else? So what Kanye West decided to do is he did something a lot smarter, which is what I really wanted to get into in this video, sort of the process he went through in order to reinvent himself, come out on the other end triumphant and more loved more than ever. So what he did was, first of all, he moved to Hawaii. He took his team, he took his recording studios, and he isolated himself all the way out in Hawaii. Locked himself away from absolutely everybody and basically locked himself in a room and basically had time now to double down on his work. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to fight the criticism in the public. He wasn't going to fight the opinions of other people. He wasn't going to avoid anything, paparazzi, whether this was, you know, he was on the world stage essentially, and he just basically made himself a media scandal. He wasn't going to avoid the media, so he decided to isolate himself. Isolation is one of the principles that I always speak about when it comes to reinventing yourself and sort of becoming the person you want to be. One of the first stages is you basically have to isolate yourself, because up until this point, if you aren't seeing the results in your life that you've always dreamed of, most likely you have the wrong voices around you, you have the wrong crowd, the wrong influences, you're consuming the wrong content. Everything about sort of your day-to-day life is wrong up until that point. And it's only when you refuse the life you do not want, you open your eyes and see how many mistakes you're making, can you begin to move forward. So through this process, essentially, isolation, what it does is it allows you to sort of make decisions for yourself. It quiets all the noise in the background. It stops you listening to the opinions of other people. And similar to Kanye West, when he was on the world stage, he was in the public eye, he was on TV. For you guys, you're not that famous, you're not that big, you don't know that many people. Even if you are a YouTuber already, you haven't got that big of a following like what Kanye West had when the whole world pretty much knew what he'd done. You gotta understand, Taylor Swift had a huge following as well. So, you know, he'd exposed himself to a different crowd who sort of now also had written him off, and yeah, it was just a bad time. But you guys probably have people in your life, friends, family, I don't know, relatives, work, people at work maybe, people you love maybe, people you don't like, who are sort of are not the most encouraging people. They don't have the most positive things to say if you were to go for your dreams, or you are currently going for your dreams, and you know they keep telling you to not do it, it's too risky, that sort of thing. Isolation is very important. Now, you don't want to isolate yourself forever, but during the initial stages, when you're trying to sort of build the momentum you need to move in the direction you want, you need to take a note from Kanye's book and isolate yourself. Another thing that was very infamous when you sort of look into the album rollout for My Dark Twisted Fantasy is pretty much his schedule in the studios were time blocked. 24/7, he was pretty much working on the clock all the time. He wouldn't even have a full night's sleep. He would sleep in segments, and he would just work every single hour to make this album work. And time blocking is something I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, on more recent ones. If you want to see that one, you can just go on my page and you'll find it, time blocking. Essentially what time blocking does is, whilst he was isolated, that's the first step. Once you are isolated and you're sort of now blocking out time to move towards building the life you want or becoming the sort of person you want to be, you need to actually manage your time. It's not enough to just be isolated. That's how you get caught up in your thoughts, the negative ideas, the negative perceptions you're having, the people who are telling you that you're not going to make it. Those voices are going to start repeating in your head. You're going to be disencouraged. What you need to do is you need to block out your time so you have something to do every hour. See, if you're working on a project, personal project, whether that's something like you're working on your fitness, whether that's working on developing a personal brand like me, maybe you need to develop your skills for a career, so you need to take some time to do some research. Anything of whatever nature it is, you need to block that into your schedule. And you need to make sure that you work on it every free hour that you got, and you don't pay attention to the outside noise apart from what you're working towards. Time blocking is very important. Kanye West used to have breakfast with his team. They would discuss thoughts for the day, and then he pretty much had a very militant time schedule where when he scheduled something in, you wasn't going to divert him from that task. He was going to make sure that he stuck to that task throughout that period. And this is how you need to be in your life as well. You need to time block the activities you need to get done into your time schedule. Another thing I found funny about the environment he was in is he shaped his environment to suit the mood of the album. So all of the artists were coming in black suits. You know, there was almost like an environment that he was shaping. And this is another thing that you need to take on board for yourself as well. When you're in the early days of developing yourself, self-improvement, working on yourself, shape your environment to suit where you're heading. Everyone talks about things like vision boards, little mantras you can say, but I would say just shape your entire environment, have a clean house, make sure there's no chaos, there's no, different things all over the place that you need to pick up, move around. Make sure that your environment is very clean, and it's pretty much helping you to also have a clean thought process when you're developing yourself in this time. You need to make sure that your eyes stay on the prize and there's no distractions around you. See, if you're using your phone all the time, you might need to block some social media apps, turn off your notifications, and just lock in with whatever you're doing. This is another way you can shape your environment. The music you're listening to, the content you're consuming, this also shapes the environment that you're in. Don't be watching content that is gossip, distracting, things that are going to put you off where you need to go to in your life. You need to shape your entire environment to the way and the direction which you're moving in. Start dressing like the person you want to become. Shape your environment. Start putting up pictures of where you see yourself in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Look at those every single morning. Remind yourself of where you're headed to. Stay away from people that are telling you should be doing this, oh, maybe you should be married, maybe you should focus on having another kid, and you know that you need to preserve all your time and energy into this thing you're building. Don't allow them to get into your environment, your space. Be like Kanye West. Kanye West had every single person in that studio in a suit. Everyone was able to contribute, but only to the project. He actually had Kanye commandments. I should have that, Tino commandments. Rules, no tweeting, no texting, no pictures, no this. When you're in that environment, you pretty much had to lock in and only do what was meant to be done. This is how you need to shape your environment. And also, he had a relentless work ethic throughout the time that he was in these studio sessions. Apparently, he would take a maximum of about 90-minute power naps. Wake up, straight back on the grind, straight back on the grind. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I always tell people that discipline becomes a lot easier to do once you're actually aligned with where you're headed to. When every single part of you is moving towards one particular goal, it's not difficult to be disciplined. And I believe people like Kanye West, people who are in the public eye, who perform at the top levels of taking action, these people understand that. Kanye had a goal. Kanye West had this one album that he was going to make the almost greatest project ever, to show the world how good he is, to show them who they were angry at, what they initially fell in love with him for. And he was so driven by that, driven by the revenge he wanted to get, driven by the success, the status he was going to get from it. I'm sure it was purposeful for him because he was almost strengthening his character, being able to deal with this criticism in a moment where his mother went through, basically a tragic passing away. Rest in peace to Don West. But these moments shaped him. And once he came out and he went back into the public eye, and he built this project and he released it, the world was shocked at the quality of it. And all of a sudden they remembered why they loved Kanye to begin with. And when you're on this grind, I want you guys to take this as a metaphor. When you're going through what you're going through and you're building up this dream life you've got in your mind, and it's so hard for you to articulate because no one can ever fathom how big you're actually dreaming. When you get to the other end of that, your success will be the revenge. That's really what's going to show those people. And everyone's going to change their tone of voice. Oh, we always knew you were going to make it. I can see it now as I'm doing these videos. I'm sure any of my friends watch them in my early days, they're going to be thinking, what is this? But as I shape and shape and shape and shape myself, I get better at speaking. I get better at picking subjects. I read more. I digest information. I shape my environment to fit where I'm headed to. When I come out on the other end, that's when people are going to realize what I was doing all this time. And I want you guys to take that period that Kanye West went through as a metaphor for yourselves. Apply the process that he went through into your own life. The isolation, time blocking, shaping his environment to suit where he's headed to. Understand work ethic, working relentlessly at this one thing. No time for anything else. The isolation, remove yourself from a situation. Some of you, it's hard. Some of you have moved in with significant others. Some of you are in a house with big family members where if you try to pursue your dreams, they're going to constantly be asking you, what are you doing? Have disencouraging words to say. Get yourself out of there. I ain't got the answer for you. I just tell you, get yourself out of that situation. I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I got a newsletter that pretty much gave you the full details of this, called Why Disappearing Changed Kanye's Life. It's in my newsletter, the next chapter. The link's below. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell me what your favorite song was on my Dark Twisted Fantasy. I've always been a Kanye West fan. I'm going to do a few more videos like this, a few principles I got from artists. Just write a few notes, throw a few concepts at you guys and sort of see if you can get the message, if you can take something and apply it into your own life. My name's Tino and I'll see you in the next one.